We've got Mayank Shah, the category head at Parle Products, joining us this morning. We've got lots to talk to him about, the benefit of the tax rate cut, what the company plans to do going forward, and whether GST is still a worry as well. Mayank, good morning. What's the sort of benefit you're expecting from the corporate tax reduction? What's the current effective rate of tax, and what will be the new rate that you'll be paying?
Like most companies, our current effective tax was upward 30%, and now it would go down to, somewhere around 25%. Now, if we look at quite a few consumer companies, I mean, they were in the bracket of about 30%. They have gone down now to 25%, 25.17%, or depending on, what are the kind of benefits that they were earlier, accruing out of various exemptions. So depending on that, the tax rate has come down. So yes, there has been, a cushion kind of a thing that's been provided by the government, and that would also probably depend on the sector in which you are and the kind of margins that, you were subject to. So a lot would depend on what's the kind of PAT that you are operating on. If the PAT, had been PBT, I would say, if the PBT was higher prior to, the exemption that was given, then the kind of gains that the company would be making would be higher than the companies where the PBT was lower, because we are effectively talking about, 10 to 15% increase in PAT given the exemption in corporate tax, given the cut in of corporate tax.
So you'd already hiked prices on certain varieties due to GST. Will this reduction in direct tax change your pricing strategy? Do you think you'll roll back to previous prices?
No, so that's what I was, sharing when I shared, just now, that it depends on what was the PBT on which you were operating. If the PBT was not very high, and I'm talking about, the absolute quantum, then probably, or the margin, if you're talking about PBTs being lower, then the effective gain that you are talking about because of the corporate rate tax cut is not really significant. We are talking about 15% increase in PAT, and that's maximum, not higher than that. And that's varying from company to company depending on what were the kind of exemptions that they were subject to or they were taking earlier. So depending on that, if you are in a cycle, or if you are probably subject to, let's say, with this 25.17% tax rate, if you are probably improving your PAT by about 5 to 10%, I think the scope of really passing it on to the consumer is limited. So what you would probably do is, you may not have probably a blanket cut in the prices of your product, but you may be selectively passing on in certain categories to the consumers.
Even in the recent, GST Council meeting, there was no mention of reducing GST on biscuits. Are you a little worried about losing business to unorganized players? What would be your next step to try and resurrect the growth problem?
No, so, from what we have gathered is that I think this time, because of paucity of time, biscuits as a category was not taken up. I think we are hopeful that government will look at it and would consider it. So we have not given up our hopes of government considering it favorably. And there's a very strong case. I mean, I've been talking about this thing earlier. Biscuits have always been two categories, prior to GST. And what's honestly surprising is how can both the categories, biscuits below 100 rupees and biscuits above 100 rupees, be clubbed together, to be formed one category and then be subject to a uniform rate of GST.
Right. We understand with regards to an AC Nielsen survey which has been taken, that biscuits as a market is witnessing the lowest value growth for the category in the last 2 years, and that's been impacted by the overall slowdown in consumption across the country. And it seems that for Q1 FY20, the value growth for the category stands at 7.25%, and it's been majorly dampened by the fall in volumes. We understand that as a category, biscuits have come down, the volumes that is, from the earlier 10.9% in Q2 FY19 to now 1.9% in Q1 FY19. Would you be able to confirm these figures for us?
Yeah, so it has been, and that's primarily been driven by, that's something that we have been talking about. That's been primarily driven by, one, of course, volumes is one thing. Secondly, that's more to do with the biscuits below 100 rupees per kg, because what happening is this is extremely price sensitive category, and if you talk about a price hike there which happened about 6 months back to 8 months back, the impact was expected that the volumes would go down. Consumers at that part, or that's in the lower bracket, economic bracket, are extremely price sensitive, and when you increase up so typically what happens is, these are the biscuits which are sold in smaller LUPs, as in low unit packs, which are 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 4 rupees, 5 rupees, and there the scope of taking a price hike is limited in terms of absolute price hike. So what typically happens is, you take an indirect price hike where you reduce the count of biscuits, and that's what consumers are extremely sensitive to. The moment they don't see value there, they'll move on to local produce, loose items which are available in the market, and that honestly is not really good for anybody. Consumers don't get a hygienically processed food. Companies, they lose out on revenue in terms of losing out to unorganized segment, and even government loses out on tax collections, because unorganized segment is not tax compliant.
So how's the consumption pattern been between your premium products as well as your standard products? So where's the down trading happened, if at all? Just talk to us about the latest trends.
Yeah, so the premium products are not really an issue, and that's the reason why we have been talking to government, and we have never asked for any reduction in GST on premium products. We have been we've been fine with, and we have told that to government, that there is no request for any reduction of GST in biscuits above 100 rupees per kg, because those are premium in nature, and they are relatively unaffected by the current slowdown. The issue is with biscuits below 100 rupees per kg, and that's where government needs to intervene and ensure that they are put in the right GST slab.
Right. I just wanted to understand from you, recently Britannia said that people are thinking twice to buy even a 5 rupee priced product. What do you think about that, and what are the overall demand trends? Is the situation as dire as that? Have things changed now?
No, that's precisely what even I am talking about. I mean, when you talk about biscuits, typically people are thinking twice before buying a biscuit of 5 rupee. That's that's precisely the categories that we are talking about. The categories which are below 100 rupees, they are typically the ones which are sold at 5 rupees and below. So that's a industry-wide observation, that consumers are thinking twice at that end of the market. So that is an issue, and as I said, while we welcome the government step of cutting the corporate taxes, and that provides some kind of cushion, but I think a larger issue of GST on biscuits below 100 rupees remain, and we are hopeful that government will consider that.
Great to have you on the show with us, and thank you so much for really highlighting, Mayank, what the prospects of the biscuit industry is amidst this slowdown, and how Parle is really tackling with the issue.